States, and they're like, I just don't understand with Fannie and Freddie and whoever else. And so who even are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? Can you give us the lowdown on that?
I can. So let's see. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are two government-sponsored enterprises in the United States. They were created to help make home ownership more affordable and acceptable for people. So Fannie Mae stands for Federal National Mortgage Association.
Okay.
And Freddie Mac stands for Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation.
Okay.
So they both very similar and in the way they work. And so let's just see. Let's say the person is looking to buy a home.
Okay.
To obtain a mortgage from a bank or other lender.
Okay.
Let's say they get 30-year fixed mortgage, which helps borrower to lock in a fixed, relatively low payment, and is one of the most popular options in the US, right? So they get in a mortgage from the bank, and then Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac buy mortgages from the lender, which frees up funds for the banks to originate new mortgages.
Okay.
The loans that Fannie and Freddie then will purchase must meet a certain characteristics, and cannot exceed certain sizes. So that's why all the lenders have to follow their guidelines. So at the end, after they close the deal and they sell loans to Fannie and Freddie, the Fannie and Freddie would actually buy those loans because they are the ones who are dictating the guidelines and certain characteristics of that loans has to meet for them to buy that loan.
Okay.
So then Fannie and Freddie can keep those mortgages on their books and collect interest on loans. But most often they will just package a number of mortgages into mortgage-backed securities that can be sold back to banks or other investors. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would guarantee payments on those securities, even if home buyers will default.
So
they're like the middleman and like an insurance policy.
Exactly. So, and then the guarantees from Fannie and Freddie have made those securities popular with investors, who would see the safety, they would see them as a safe investments, pretty much.
Okay.
So that's
and they both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac do the same thing.
So the Freddie Mac and exactly. So they very similar. They have some differences in the guidelines. So lenders, they know those differences, and sometimes I originate the loan, I send it through the Fannie or I send it through the Freddie Mac, but in most cases they go hand in hand. They're very similar with similar guidelines. So they basically, in summary, these organizations are to help to make it easier for people to get home mortgage, and then buy from the loans by buying mortgages from lenders and providing more funds to the housing market, right? So the difference between Fannie and Freddie, besides the guidelines, like some very small differences in the guidelines, in general, Fannie tends to buy loans from larger commercial banks and lenders, and Freddie Mac usually buys loans from smaller banks or credit unions. But this is the primary difference between those two, and it doesn't really affect an actual buyer in any way.
Interesting. Very good. That's very clear.
That's very clear. So I think this is a really great illustration to show people that, the lender that they choose offers up these different programs, right, Tatiana? So if I'm a buyer and I'm coming to you and I give you the scenario, I want to buy this house and this is my credit and this is my income, and you give me my options, you're giving options based on, do I fit into Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac criteria, and maybe any other
Investor that
investors that you work with. That's where you're giving me my options from, as you're pulling from that pool.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's important to know that about the guidelines and banks overlays. So what's banks overlay? Basically, every bank, like I said, they have to follow Fannie and Freddie's rules and guidelines, but they could impose overlays, meaning they put more strict guidelines. Just let's say Fannie and Freddie say the minimum credit score is 620 for us to buy the loan, and the bank is gonna say, we're gonna make it 640. We're gonna make it more stringent. And that's important to know that credit unions and some big banks, they do put those overlays, so it could potentially make it a little bit harder for buyer to get conventional loan versus direct lenders like Prosperity Home Mortgage that we work directly with Fannie and Freddie. We know their guidelines, we follow their guidelines, and in some cases, I know I might not be able to get this person approved under Fannie, but I can get them approved under Freddie Mac, and the rates are identical, they're exactly the same. But in some cases, I can get the loan done through one or another. So that flexibility and knowledge is very important, because it just helps a person to get a mortgage. Basically.
I think that's a really good point, is that not all lenders are direct lenders from those GSEs, right?
Exactly.
Not all of them are.
Okay, explain GSE.
That's the government, GSE, government something entity, government sponsored entity.
Yes.
Right? Or enterprise. Yeah. And that's what Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are. They're government sponsored. Okay. So here's another question of confusion we get. How is Fannie Mae different than FHA? A lot of people get those confused. So where does FHA fall into this whole situation?
So the FHA is Federal Housing Administration program and follows the HUD guidelines. So it's a
completely
totally story.
It's not a government sponsored entity then. It's not like a cousin of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, right? It's a totally different thing.
Well, I mean, you could call it a cousin, I guess, because at the end you get a mortgage from them as well. And in some cases, FHA is better option than conventional. And maybe it's actually going to be a good idea to talk about that. What are the differences in which cases it's better to go with one or another. But I guess it's different days.
I like that. I think that one time we need to talk about conventional, jumbo, FHA, even, what is it, the USDA, VA, like, explain why all these, why.
Exactly.
We should do one of
those. Put it on the list.
Okay, I'm going to add it to the list.
Tatiana's going to make it PowerPoints the rest of her life. All right.
I can make this PowerPoint in 5 minutes now, it's just like.
There you go. We're making you. You're just like that. Yes.
We need AI for that. Hey AI, Chat GPT, I need you to create a PowerPoint on this. And it's just going to do it.
That's right.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
All right. Well, do you have anything else? Or are you good?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, thank you as always. And we will be back in touch with you next week and dive into our next Mortgage Minute.
Yeah. I hope everything's okay with your family.
Yeah, we'll be praying for you.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.